Congratulations on retirement. I guess the obvious question is, what makes now the right time?
I've known for a while. I think just now is kind of leading into spring training and don't want to take anything away from that. And hopefully we have spring training on time and, all that stuff. But like I said, I've known for a while and just kind of wanted to get into the off season and sit down and make sure that it was right, and it is, and wanted to get through the holidays as well. So I guess there's no real great time, but this is as good a time as any.
Was watching your starts with interest in St. Louis, Jon Lester. You had figured some stuff out. You and Adam Wainwright, you were pitching well, man. It's caught me by surprise today. There's more miles left in that arm, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, I could do it, but like I said, this year was tough, physically and mentally for me. Just the grind, and I told Jesse Rogers in the interview that I did whenever I did it. John Lackey told me a few years ago. He's like, when the work outweighs the pleasure of pitching, it's time to kind of evaluate the situation you're at. And that's where I was at. The work in between the starts was just getting too hard to keep up with just the little nicks and bumps that were, bothering me through the years. And like I said, just this year I knew physically I wasn't able to do the things, not only on the field, but just recovery-wise that I was used to do.
Are you at peace with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, this isn't something new for me. It's not like last night called my agent and said, "Hey, I'm doing this." This has been talked about and gone around in circles about it. And like I said, I made the decision a while ago. So, now I'm just kind of talking about it. It's a good thing, and I'm excited for it.
So what now, Jon? David Ross probably would enjoy you out in Arizona in a couple of months, just kind of hanging out. Director of toughness, minister of beverages. I don't know, assistant pitching coach. There's probably some positions available. Would you go hang out with your boy, David?
Yeah, I'd go hang out. I don't know about the coaching part or the assistant anything part. I'd go out there and make sure and keep him in line for a couple of days, maybe play some golf. But, I don't know what's next. I think that's the exciting part for me. I've for the last, however many years of my life, not only in pro ball, but just, my life in general, my summers have been planned and, off seasons have been planned with workouts and throwing programs and this, that, and the other. So it's kind of nice to sit back and fly by the seat of your pants, per se. I don't have anything on the schedule. It'll be my first summer off since I was 6 years old, probably. So it'll be definitely nice. I'm sure it'll be tough at times, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, there's a lot of time for golf on those pesky days where you used to have to start. Like you're gonna have,
yeah.
You're gonna have plenty of time. I mean, we kid about David Ross, but people will think about the two of you together, and I know how special that relationship was. Dustin Pedroia with some incredible words about you in that piece, in that article that you mentioned. Like, who? Obviously, Ross is up there. Who are some of the guys who you think about as those relationships that meant so much to you along the way, Jon, in this baseball career?
Oh, man, there's so many of them, not only teammates but coaches and staff. If you're talking about players, probably two of the guys that were most instrumental for me as not only a young guy but kind of in the middle of my career as well was Josh Beckett and John Lackey. You talk about toughness and mental toughness and the will to compete. Those two guys for me are top of the list. David Ortiz is up there. Just a lot of guys. I don't know how much time y'all have on this, but, most recent guys are guys like Riz, Happer, Contreras, I mean, you already said Rossi. I'm not going to go down that road, but those are just a few guys off the top of my head that, as far as teammates that really, helped me along the way. Whether it be stay sane, whether it be, kind of bring your confidence down when you need it. We all need to get our confidence checked sometimes, and then to also bring your confidence up when you need it. So, those guys, I think just the ones off the top of my head. I know I'm missing a lot of people in there, but those are just a few guys in my career that really had an impact on me.
We're talking to Jon Lester on the day that he announces his retirement. We had in that montage, they convinced me to join a 100-loss team. They sold me on this vision. You are universally regarded as the biggest free agent signing in Cubs history, arguably Chicago sports history. Can you take us back to that time, that moment where you made the decision to buy in and it honestly changed the fortune of the team that I've loved since I was a little kid forever? Like, what was the tipping point that made you choose the Cubs?
I think there's a lot of things involved in that, maybe one day, we'll be able to fully share. But, I think the biggest thing for me is just the comfort. I talk about that going back to the Red Sox, but, I don't think if Theo and Jed and all those guys are with the Cubs, I necessarily sign with them. I probably end up back with the Red Sox. Some other factors involved with, different coasts and, other things, but just the belief they gave me was just incredible. The amount of confidence they had in their young guys that were going to come up, and we've all seen it how many times where a young guy is this big high prospect that can't make it a month in the big leagues and falls on his face, and that happens a lot. But I don't think that happened with any of their guys that they had. So that's pretty incredible in itself. So I think, like I said, the biggest thing, number one, is comfort. The other, number two, is just their confidence in what they were trying to do there.
And I know it's not luck and it was a ton of hard work, but can you believe how well it all worked out?
No. It's still, we talk about as a kid, you dream to be a professional athlete, whatever that may be, or that was my dream. Not all kids, that's not necessarily their dream, but that was my dream. And I grew up watching guys like Ken Griffey Jr. and Randy Johnson and Andy Pettitte and Derek Jeter. And I was very lucky to get to play against some of my idols as a kid. But to do it at the level I was able to do it for as long as I was able to do it, if you had told me that, 15 years ago, I probably would have laughed at you. So it's a really special thing to me. With that being said, I worked my ever-living butt off to do it and to try to do it for as long as I did. And I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, John. We saw that work, and we're here with Jon Lester on The Score. We saw how hard you worked, and we watched you evolve from the young power pitcher into a guy in his prime with everything in the arsenal, into a craftier lefty on the other side of the stuff, scale. It was amazing. What do you end up most proud of in terms of whether it's the numbers or showing up as often as you did or going as long as you did? What do you walk away most proud of in terms of your career?
I think you said it. I think the showing up part. I just remember hearing that when I was young about starting pitchers being relied upon. If you can, if in spring training your manager can pencil you in for 30 plus starts, that's a huge lift off of his shoulders, and let alone the organization's shoulders. So I think that's the thing I'm most proud of, is the fact that I took the ball every 5 days. Whatever they told me to do, I did. If I needed to change, if I needed to adapt, if I needed to do something more or less, we did it. And, but I think taking the ball, like I said, was something that I was really, really proud of, and I was able to do it for a long time.
How the hell did the numbers get so much better in the playoffs than the regular season? When you're playing the better teams, the weather's cold, and the stakes are at their highest. How do you get better in those moments?
You know what? If I knew, I'd be able to help out some other people that don't do too well in those situations. I don't know, man. Like I just always like that time of year. Jon Lester always talked about in the beginning of the season. He's like, I need to get to 100 innings. I get to 100 innings, I feel like I finally get my legs under me. I feel like I can throw my curveball. I feel, stronger. I just always felt better towards the end of the year. Like you said, you get out of that summer heat, you get into a little bit of that cold. I think people forget I grew up in Washington State where it rained and was cold all the time during high school baseball. So I'm kind of used to pitching in those climates and like that climate. People that watch me, I'm a big sweater. So when it's cold, it's actually a little bit better for me. And I think the big thing, man, I just wasn't scared to fail. I went out there and I put it on the line, and if it wasn't my night, it wasn't my night, but I was going to give you everything I had. And, I think sometimes people can fall into, being scared to fail, and that's where you really put yourself behind the eight ball.
Yeah, people talk about clutch, and obviously that's what we're hinting at, but it's really just being yourself, being the same guy. You had that ability to show up and be the same guy no matter how big the situation was. Where did that come from? What is that born of, Jon? Just to stay that same dude and when the moment gets big.
Well, I think part of that is, we were talking about people that had influences on your career and stuff. That was, an early age for me in pro ball where I got into a routine and I fell into a routine and I would fall back onto that in pressure situations and really rely on that. So I never felt uncomfortable per se. Now, you always have the jitters and you have the nervousness and all that stuff, but I knew that I was prepared based on my routine and based on what I had done previous. And, I think partly what leads to, nerves and that uneasy feeling is not knowing necessarily if you're prepared for the moment. And I felt like I was always ready physically and mentally for those moments. And, it panned out for me in the end.
Jon, I know this is, at this point, the definition of out of your hands. We stopped counting the numbers now on the day that you're officially retired, but what would the Hall of Fame mean to you?
You know what? I think obviously it would mean an unbelievable amount to me. I didn't play the game for that reason. I think that's another reason why, I know it's time. I've never played the game for numbers. I've only played the game to win and contribute. And, I feel like if I was to continue playing, I would only be playing for myself and padding those stats, and I don't want to do that. But, if that day comes and they call my name and I get to be enshrined with a lot of unbelievable players, that would be a moment that I wouldn't be able to describe. If that moment never comes, then, I know that kind of the same thing when it comes to the starts. I was prepared day in and day out to perform, and I don't regret a single moment about what I did through these last 16 years.
The numbers are virtually identical in both places. Would it be a Cubs hat or a Red Sox hat?
Hey, what's great about that whole deal is they get to pick for you now, so I don't have to pick if that happened. Somebody asked me that. It was earlier today, and that's a hard decision for me personally, just because both places meant so much to me at different points in my career. The people that I've met along the way in both organizations, kind of same thing. So that's why I say that. I'm not trying to be politically correct in that whole deal, but the organization, both organizations meant so much to me, and both cities meant so much to me that if it was to happen, I was kind of hoping they could do one of those fan hats where you can pick both teams.
Yeah, there you go. Two bills, a bill on the front and a bill on the back. Why not? Two pictures of a young Jon Lester crossed the timeline today that stopped me cold. One was after you threw the no-hitter and proud Papa Terry Francona greeting you. It's just like that look on his face was unbelievable. And then the other one is young Anthony Rizzo, who was just trying to get over cancer, meeting you in the Red Sox locker room when he was a young kid, a signee, and you had gotten over cancer. And that's going to be a big part of your legacy is a guy who recovered physically from that challenge. And I wonder how important that is to you, that's part of how you're remembered and how you're discussed in this town and in Boston as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a big part of my life. It's a big part of a lot of people's lives. You talk about great people I got to meet along the way. Those people are included in that. All the doctors and fans that, whether they had family members that were recovering or lost family members or were going through it themselves, that I got to meet along the way and be a part of. That whole thing helped us start Never Quit Foundation. Which is, same deal, introduced us to so many great kids and great families and great people. So, yeah, I mean, that's a big part of my life, not only on the field, but off the field. And, the Tito deal, coming back and, we talked about earlier how important the organizations and people were to me. And, Tito was a big part of that when I was going through that whole deal. And he was kind of like a father figure to me on the field. And, my parents put a lot of trust in him and I put a lot of trust in him to do what was best. And sometimes I didn't like the decisions that they made for me as far as my recovery and getting to come back and play and pitch and all that. But I knew at the end of the day, they had my best interest. And, that was obviously a really, really cool moment in my career and obviously a personal moment for me and Tito as well.
Well, Jon, again, congratulations on an amazing career. Our friend and yours, Bruce Levine, wanted me to pass along his regards and congratulations on a great career. We very much appreciate him connecting you with us today. And it's kind of an honor for me to be able to speak on behalf of Cubs fans and just be able to say, thanks, man. You changed the organization forever that I've rooted for since a little kid. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, guys. It's been an honor and privilege to play for that organization, along with the other ones that I got to be a part of. And obviously you guys know how great Chicago is. So thank you, guys.
All right, man. Minister of Beverages in Arizona. Ross is waiting for you. All right?
All right, perfect.
Thank you. That is Jon Lester on the day that he announces his retirement, the greatest free agent signing in the history of the Cubs and arguably the city of Chicago. And I'll say, Speegs, future Hall of Famer.
I think so. It might take a little while.
The playoff numbers and the direction the game is going. A 2.5 postseason ERA with 3 World Series and 3 iconic World Series given the franchises that he won them with. I think the postseason accomplishments ultimately get him in.
He is top 10 in postseason history in a ton of categories. Top 10 in starts, in playoff games, in innings, in ERA, and in strikeouts. He has started more game one of a series, more games won than anybody in the history of the game. And obviously a lot of that is opportunity, but he was great all those times. And in the end, that's going to matter, along with 13 years of 30 starts. And, oh, by the way, 28 just now in his final year.